So because your nickname is the playmaker, I want to ask you this. Who is the best playmaker in all of sports?
You know, that all started, the playmaker, with guys saying, oh, man, I can cover you, and they do, but the play is still made, hence the playmaker. He makes plays that are not there. You talked about it, Stephen A. You talked about it earlier. You talked about Tom Brady winning with guys that were less talented. That's called making plays that were not there. We talked about Tom Brady leaving New England, going to Tampa. And this team, Tampa, had no shot at getting to a Super Bowl. But Tom Brady made the play that was not there and got that team to a Super Bowl. When you're talking about the greatest playmaker right now in the game, I have to hearken back to Tom Brady. Because he continues to make the plays.
Again, in sports.
In sports. Right now, the greatest playmaker in sports right now is Tom Brady. Because he goes, wherever he goes, he's making plays that nobody sees.
You do understand that most people wouldn't feel he's the greatest playmaker in football. They would think that's Patrick Mahomes. You do know that.
But because they got a wrong definition of making plays. They want some excitement of making plays, some old big play of making plays.
Right.
A playmaker is the guy that make the plays. Hey, Kansas City is the most talented team in the world, right? They got all those plays they're making, they're wide open. Those are that's not a playmaker. Tom Brady is the playmaker. He's doing things that you don't see, things that you're right there and you can't stop.
So, Michael Irvin, you ever heard of somebody named LeBron James?
Oh, my God.
Are we talking about a four-time champion?
Oh, my God.
We're talking about a guy that's going to 10 NBA Finals. We're talking about a guy, guy that's going to he's on the Mount Rushmore of basketball in the history of the game, one of the top 4 players in the history of basketball. I would put him top 2. A guy that I'm just looking at his number. I just want to throw this by you right now, Michael Irvin, because I want to make sure that you know about this. Right now, at this moment, in 18 seasons, LeBron James has 35,367 points. LeBron James has 9,696 assists. LeBron James has shot for his career 50.4% from the field. Okay? And oh, by the way, yes, he won championships with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. Yes, he won another championship with Kyrie Irvin and Kevin Love. Yes, he won a championship with Anthony Davis. But LeBron James, despite the greatness he has been around, has universally been recognized. I mean, right now I got Kevin Durant as number 1, but has universally been recognized clearly as the greatest player on his squad, religiously so. And so when I say to you, he doesn't just score, he assists, he runs an offense, he's one of, if not the greatest passer in the game, right now. When you look at all of that and his resume, are you trying to tell me that Tom Brady is a greater playmaker than LeBron James?
You guys confuse dynamic plays with playmaking. You're talking about Patrick Holmes, It's dynamic plays. Those are dynamic
They're
plays.
spectacular.
We're spectacular. And we.
But who got the ring? I get what he's saying.
No. And I'm talking about. I'm talking about not just the ring. I'm talking about who are making plays. You didn't expect. Who expected Tom Brady to go over to Tampa and lead this team to a Super Bowl?
LeBron won titles in Miami, Cleveland, and LA.
Okay, but listen, right. LeBron winning. LeBron went and added and built championships. Tom Brady first made plays right there where he was drafted. He didn't add anything. He first made plays there, and then he got transferred.
Well, what the hell was LeBron James doing? Chilling in the iPic theater, kicking up his food, eating popcorn?
LeBron wasn't making enough plays in Cleveland when he got drafted. LeBron didn't win no championships there. LeBron left there and went to Miami, where he got 2 more guys, and then said, now I'm going to win a championship, and then go back to Cleveland once they get stuck.
He didn't win the championship. Did LeBron James get the Cleveland Cavaliers with himself and a bunch of no-names to the finals against the Spurs.
Now you want to give
2007.
credit to losing when you were just on Tom Brady for losing. So you want to vacillate this thing. So only when it works for you, losing is okay. But when it doesn't, because hey, Tom Brady lost. He lost right there. But when I bring up, okay, but you just said it. You just said it. And LeBron James lost in Cleveland.
Yeah, but he won in 3 different places, including Cleveland. What did Tom Brady have in Tampa last year? Did you say he had Antonio Brown? Did we look at Mike Evans and Chris Godwin? Did
Tom Brady make plays? Did he come off a bench and start making plays like a playmaker and take that team to a Super Bowl? Did he do it? The team that he got drafted by. He didn't have to leave and go learn how to do it by Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and then come back and implement the learning in Cleveland to win a championship. He made championships in New England and then took what he knew into Tampa and and won a championship there.
Did you
it's
not
insane.
on many occasions rave about Bill Belichick and the greatness of his
Absolutely.
coaching?
Come on, man. All that's part of it, man.
That's part of it.
All right. That's the coach. That's still his original
part of it. Not casting any aspersions or disrespecting anybody.
Right.
But the Paul Silases, the Mike Browns of the world, people like that. The cat that came over from Europe to coach Cleveland before Ty Lue took over. Eric Spoelstra wasn't Eric Spoelstra until LeBron got to Miami, even though he was a damn good coach.
But
LeBron wasn't a champ until LeBron got to Miami.
As much in basketball
Right.
Not as much in football. But what I'm saying is there is something to be said. There is something to be said. Kobe and Shaq couldn't get it done. And then Phil Jackson came and they won the first year. And year 2 and year 3. There's something to be said about that. There's something to be said about learning how to win. Now, if you won, Molly, and the playmaker will contest to this, if you've won, the transition to moving elsewhere and winning is a bit easier because you already know how to win. The hardest part is learning how to win. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.